Hello and welcome back. Making a video to bring up to date a previous video I made on KeePass. Fantastic program for managing your passwords as you need them nowadays. And I'm going to be talking to you on the steps as follows on how I go about using it on my Windows machine, Mac, Android, and the cloud. These are the steps I'll talk through, and basically you download and install the Mac version file on the Mac and Android, the KDB version 1 and the kdbx version 2 for Windows, and version 1 can also be used in Windows. And then secondly, how to go about upgrading once you've installed the two, and then talk about master passwords, where you basically, when you create the database where you put all your passwords into that database, you physically input your choice, or you can create a key with the program itself, which you have to keep separate, which is important, and it must be, the key must be the same if you're using the version 2 database or version 1 when you're using it to export it as a backup. Or you can use both the master password physical input and the key together, but the key must be kept separate for security purposes. Fourthly, how to go about exporting the version 2 database and saving it as version 1 so you can use it on all the platforms. And then fifthly, how to encrypt the database using this fantastic encryption program, which once you create the password to encrypt, you can use the same password to decrypt on all the devices, and the program that allows you to do the same for the Android, which is Crypt for All. So those are the steps in summary, as you can see from there. And let's close this window, minimize it rather, and go to the main page to download the version. So click on the download and click on version 1 to install on your Windows. I use Windows 7, so that works fine, and Windows 7 for version 2. Click on that installer, and the portable version is the zip file that you can create an extracted folder from to carry on a USB externally to use somewhere else, and version 2 likewise. So I'll download version 2 because I've already done the other two. Once you click on it, you have to click on it and you get a link which will download in a few seconds. There is version 2, and I save it as like so on version 2 folder. Save the application and then go back and then download the zip file. As I say, I've already downloaded the version 1. Wait a few seconds for the zip file to kick in. There it is, and then save it on a folder on your Windows machine. So save in the save folder. Actually, I should have done it in a different folder. And while that's downloading, you can then download the AES script, which decrypts and encrypts the database or files on the Mac, on your Mac machine, and for the Android device you can download the KeePass Droid to install it on your Android mobile phone like Samsung Note, for example, and also on your Android device download this to decrypt and encrypt the file of the database. So that's that, right? And go back to the main page. So let's see. I've actually downloaded, so I'll just right, once you've downloaded it excuse me, Windows 1, the installer is that, and the zip file is that. So let's extract that into the same folder using the appropriate unzipper. I use WinRAR, and it's created a folder with the license key, help file, and the program. So this is the one you copy onto your USB to take with you away from your Windows machine if you're using Windows machine to create the database. And likewise for the Android, you use this version, but on the Android you would install, go to the downloads page. So on your Mac machine you would use this program, which is version 1. So KeePass X Mac, so which is compatible with that version. Right, and on your Android you use this one, which you get from Google Play. So those are the basic steps, and once you've installed all the so on Windows 7 I've installed version 1, as you can see, and version 2 slightly bigger, and it looks like that. Okay, let's close that. And then to upgrade it, that's the next step. So just go through the steps. Click on downloads, click on home, and when there's a new release from the official website, you click on that to read more about it, and it says that's a stable release, it's recommended to upgrade. Now you can basically upgrade the old version, and I've done that without any issues, and it talks to you about that in the help section in upgrading and installation. For example, version 1, click on that, and it says updating. When a new version has been released, you can update your existing installation without losing any settings. That's what I do on the Windows 7 machine, and same for version 2. So that's upgrading sorted. Master passwords, and then click on in the features. So if you scroll down from their help page to features and the third link, composite master key, you get to this page which talks about master passwords and key files, which is very important. Now you can create a master password for the database you're gonna input all your secret passwords for your website logins and whatever and that is a physical input. You can have one password or paraphrase, which should be good. That's what they call it. KeePass features protection against all that brute force, etc. So you can read more about that. If you forget this master password, all your other passwords in the database are lost, because you can't crack that. Okay, there's no backdoor recovery. Or you can use a key file. Okay, now to create a key file you must keep that separate, and you don't have to remember the password that you physically input. The key does it for you, and the program creates the key, which is a very lengthy, complicated key password. The key files are triply stronger than master passwords because they can be a lot more complicated, and however it's also harder to keep them secret. So let's see, if you open version 1 and then I create a new database, the choices are you have a master password which you input, and then if you click on that it gives you what the entry is, so you can hide it. So let's say you can input, it won't let you input unless you reveal it. So test like that, close that as weak. Or you can use a key file or both. So let's say for example we're talking about the key file alone, and not use a master password, you leave that unticked and then click save for version 1. And we are going to put this in a download folder which I've created, tutorial in version 1. Okay, and I'll call that key. Save. So now it's located the path where it's going to save the key. So we've saved it. You click save and save it as I showed you. I'm going to call it key. Obviously it's going to say you've already got that, so I didn't. Okay, so leave that like that, and then click OK, and then you get to this random key generation file. You can use the mouse to create random input or the keyboard on the right side, and once you click the mouse you just keep doing that until this green bar is full. Keep moving your mouse randomly until that's full. You can also type in random characters, and I'll just leave them there, for example, and click OK. And then you get this database structure, right? And then you must save it because it hasn't been saved. So click save. Then he asks you for the path, and I'll leave that as it is. And then the KDB path is created, and you click save. Right, now to open it, you close that, you open the database, and it automatically picks up the key file. But because it defaults to the master password and key file, it won't open it because it's waiting for the password. Now remember, we didn't create that, so click OK, it won't open. So what you do is you untick that because you've chosen to use the key and it's located it. That's why it's important to put that somewhere else, in case you leave your desktop or your machine and you're running your database on your machine, somebody comes along and knows the keys path and clicks OK, you're in. So that's the disadvantage, but the advantage is it's a very strong password. And then this is where you start creating your email accounts, for example, I don't know, Gmail, username, your name at gmail.com, and it suggests a password. Now, unless it's specified by the website, I've selected uppercase, lowercase digits, and maximum password length of 10. An expert on the web suggested a minimum of 10, because there's no minimum. I was trying to find on the web what is the minimum password length. Anything above 10 is very, very strong. Google used to have policy of 6 characters, but they've made a minimum character length, and most websites, secure banking and all that sites, say minimum should be 8. But some say you can use a special character, so you can select that. But for this exercise we'll leave that as it is, and you can then generate the password of 15 characters with upper, lower and mixture of digits, and you get that. Once you're happy with that, it's a strong password, as you can see it's green, you accept it and then close that. So there's your password, and click OK. Now because you've created it, every time you make a change you must save the database and then start creating your other passwords, etc. You can choose an icon, and there's a list of about 68 to select. So for mobile you could use that, etc. And the icon then changes. So let's say for mobile you do that, and that icon's changed, and then again you put your what that title is to remind you, and then the username, password and URL can be entered here, and click OK. It suggested a password of 15 automatically, so you can select that, leave that, click OK and save. So you got your email account, you got your mobile account. So in the email you can then put down https www.google.com But if you go to the right website, you can copy and paste it in there, so you know that's the right URL, and you can add notes, expiry, etc. These are the things you've got to remember basically. So click OK and then click Save, because you've changed that. Now when you go to the website to enter your Gmail account, so as you go to the Gmail entry, make sure the username or email cursor is selected to input there. Then open your go to your database, select the Gmail if that's the account for this website. You can either copy and paste the email username, so copy this username, or right click and copy, or use a keyboard command from there. So copy, right click, paste, and we've chosen that one. And if it's cursor flashing on the username, go to your database, select that. So either copy and paste username and password, or if you right click and do perform auto type. Now on version 1 you don't get the icon here, you have to right click and do it from there, or use a keyboard command. But in version 2 you get the icon here, so you can click on it and it'll take you straight to input the 2 entries. So watch that, see, username and password, but because that's just a demo, it's not logged me in. So that's what it would do. And you can when you change the password, you can then add you can create a duplicate entry, for example, and then copy the old password, you know, like so in here, and create another one. So let's create another one, generate, accept. So you got the new one, then you can copy the old one into the old password box, and then the new one from here into the new password and confirm password selection, and then obviously save the database if that's been accepted by the website. So save that. Right now in we've done master password and key file. So the key file it must be kept separate, because when you open the database it defaults to the path, so anyone can open it. Okay, so what you do is you move the key file, this one, somewhere else into another destination, another folder or USB for more security. Now there's the database that's been created. So now either on the Mac or Windows, if you got script installed, which is for Windows, you get it from AES script, sorry, wrong spelling, AES script, and there it is, that's the website. Click on that and that's what it looks like, and that works fine for Windows, Mac and iOS. So you can install the Mac version, Google Android version and Windows version. And if you download and download it from here, I'll put the links in the description. The 32-bit for Windows machine is the one I use, is that link. For Android is that one, but you can get that from there. It takes you to Google Play Store, and for Apple you can use that version, which is newer Macs. I've got Mountain Lion, so that works fine. So that you download it onto your Mac or from here via your Mac from Apple, and install that program to decrypt. So on, for example, in the Windows machine, if you create the key and I've got AE script installed, right click and you get this, encrypt that file. I'll just call it test for this exercise, repeat the 2 passwords, and it encrypts it there. You can now delete that or take it somewhere else, but the key and the database, say if you encrypt the database as well, say you can use the same password, doesn't really matter because you know what the password is for your database. So there's your database and there's the key to open the database. You can now copy these into your cloud, OneDrive, Dropbox, and they are safe. So without decryption. So if I say delete that on this machine, or remove it, say, are you sure? And this key, because these are the two things you need to open the database. Okay, now all you do, you can select both and then decrypt them and enter the password for the, because you use the same password for both, and it decrypts them and keeps the original encrypted files, which is brilliant. So now when you open the database, because I've got this installed on this Windows machine, I can just double click the database and it asks for the password. Now I didn't create the password for this exercise. You can do it by physically inputting it and just use that instead of this key, or both if you created both. Or because I've used the key, I'll untick that, picks up the key from that path and it opens it. But supposing I cut the key and put it somewhere else for security purposes, that's why they say, so let's put it there, because you mustn't lose that. That's a long, I don't know how you can edit that, open with, it doesn't say open with, it'll ask for, let's try it. If I do Notepad, just out of curiosity, let's try that. See, it's a long length. You're never going to remember that. So it's pretty secure. It's saving you typing that key every time. Right now, so we move the key here from that folder. Now if I double click on that database, it automatically thinks that's the path. Okay, we didn't use that. Click OK. It won't open it because it's looking for the key. So now if you click to search the key, we know we moved it here. Click open. It's found the path for the key to open the database. Click OK, and bingo. So now what you do is you move the encrypted database onto your Mac version 1, onto your Windows version 1, and the key version 1 for this database, because we use key, and onto your Android, and then you can open and decrypt the database and use it there like that. But obviously when you put the database into your Dropbox, you don't put the key within the same folder, hence why they say do not use the location for the key file in the same folder. So key file can be used instead of a password, or in addition to password, as explained. A key file can be any file you choose, although you should choose one with lots of rendered data, which I showed you how to, it makes that. A key file must not be modified, so you can't change that, because if you do, it won't open the database. And if you want to use a different key, you can change the master key. So let's not complicate that. So keep the same key for, you can use a different one, but as long as you remember the key that opens the database, where it is and where it's moved to. And key files must be backed up, or you won't be able to open the database after a hard disk crash. Okay, there's no backdoor, so that's the thing. Now the location, the point of a key is that you have something to authenticate. Okay, and then, for example, a file on a USB stick, you can put it there. The key file content needs to be kept secret. The point is not to keep the location, of the key file secret. Selecting a file out of thousands existing on your hard disk doesn't increase security at all, but because it's very easy to malware attackers to find the correct key. That's why it's important to encrypt it as well. So yeah, okay, but if you use both, you can't go wrong, but the choice is yours. You can either use input or key file, right? Now I use the inputted and the key and the AES encrypted database on the cloud, but not the key. Key is kept separate for access security. So we cover that. Now to export the file to save, to be, if you use Windows Machine a lot, which is what I do, then I can create the database in, this is version 2. Okay, so you create the database here. It looks for where to put the database, so let's put it in that tutorial folder, version 2, and it's called new, so we leave that as it is. The difference with the version 2 is that it's got an X at the end, so save that. Now to create that database, again, see, it asks you the same principle: master password or key file or both, or you can choose just the key file. So as long as you remember, the key file has to be the same. So let's, if you can use the other key, the key you created, so I've got my key there. Let's go to the tutorial and use that version 1 key. Okay, only instead of a physical input. Obviously most people use the master password that they create and not use a key. Okay, right, so as long as we are clear on how that works, so we've already done that. Click OK and then leave that as it is. Click OK, and there's a structure. It's picked up your version 1 database key, open the database, and now you save it because it's waiting for that change, because there's a sample entries. So click save, and now it's done. Now if you close that and open recent, clear list, let's go back to, because I don't want to complicate it with my original file. So there's a new database. Double click on that. It picks up the path for the version 1 key, but we're not inputting the master password. Click OK, and it's opened it. So now say you start using version 2 and start putting the entries. You want to save that, and now because we've got sample entries here, we want to save that, export it rather. Click export, and version 2 gives you this option to save as version 1, which is useful. So if you're using Windows 7 and version 2, you can export it to save it as a version 1 database. Download tutorial, and let's put it in this folder, new database version 1. Okay, click OK. So it's saved it. Right, now let's close that. So now go back to the version 1 folder, because you saved it as version 1. There it is, and it hasn't got the X at the end, if you notice, because version 2 has the X at the end. So let's go to version 1, sorry, wrong one, that folder. So there's version 1. Now if you double click on it, if you took that folder and copied onto your USB, you would need to open this program to open the database, and then put the file, which is somewhere else, either on a USB stick or somewhere else. So these can be encrypted using AE script and put on your Dropbox, but you need the key or the password that you need to open the database. So if you had chosen to use a password that you created the database with, you can physically input that here, but then you have to remember that, or use the key. So let's find the key. I remember we use the same key for version 1, which is that one. Click open, and there it is. So the version 1 has opened the version 2 database that was saved as version 1. That's how useful it is, right? But wherever you choose to do the entries and save them, you got to back that copy that database over. So if I now this is my database that I've changed, you need to copy that onto this folder to open it here with version 1, if you see what I mean, because you don't want to open the old database. You want to match the database that you are updating. So right, let's go back to version 1. Now you can encrypt that test using AE script, and not only is that a backup, obviously that keep that password so you never forget that only you know that password where you physically input it, but you got the key to open the database. So you can now delete that. I use another program to delete. Right, so that should be gone. Yep. Now you can't open that until you decrypt it. So if you do that, there it is. Now you can open it. Okay, so we've covered database decryption, encryption with AE script. Remember, with the AE script, the password that you used here, if you copy that onto the version 1 onto your Mac and onto your Android, it'll open in those two devices or machines. So we've done the export, we've done the decryption, and now we can use the same in Google. If you now go to Google Play, and it's free, this one, install that, and you have the this database version 1 encrypted. You can use this with the same password, for example test on this demo, to open it using this program. And using this program you can decrypt the database with the same password, or you can choose a different password, but then obviously the advantage of AE script is you can use it on all platforms, but it gives you the added security of securing your database on the cloud. So we've covered all the things, right? I hope you liked the video. You can rewind and watch it again if you've missed anything, and follow the steps I've mentioned in the video, and I'll put the description in the links. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it, and bye for now.